Up in the northeast corner of Ulster lies Port Stewart. Apart from being famous for its golf courses, this little seaside town has, since 1929, been the start and finishing point for Ireland's annual Northwest 200 motorcycle races. Run over a course of 11 miles, it has 3 classes, for 500, 350 and 250cc models, all racing at the same time, but with half-minute intervals between the mass starts of the different classes. In the paddock, the usual pre-race excitement is everywhere, as the machines are checked and fueled. Bob McIntyre, Norton, is undoubtedly favourite in the big class. Bob, always completely imperturbable at times of tension such as this. And that's Bob Brown of Australia, I think, but as usual, our cameraman hasn't got his mind on the job and it's hard to see. Alistair King from Glasgow, one of the favourites for the 350 class. It's nice to see all the boys looking so relaxed at this stage. Last year's winner, Jack Brett. He's McIntyre's most serious rival. And now they come out in front of the grandstand for the warming-up period. I wonder just what Bob's thinking about. Number 7, that's Jeff Tanner, who's expected to be somewhere up on the leaderboard. And now they form upon the grid according to practice times. In pole position is Bob McIntyre, slightly faster than Jack Brett. G. Purvis from Belfast on a BSA and Bob Brown from Australia on a Norton complete the first row. Two minutes to go. The riders' faces reflect their varying reactions. The flag's up. And as they roar away towards Henry's Corner and the promenade, it's Bob Brown in the lead from Bob McIntyre. And as the 500 class races along the promenade and onto Coleraine, back to the start of the 350s, plus Bill Smith, a 500cc late starter. Around Henry's Corner go the 350s. And back on the line, the 250cc class is waiting. And now the whole field is away. Already, down at Milburn Hairpin, the 500cc leaders are appearing. And it's Bob McIntyre first, 5 seconds ahead of Jack Brett. With Bob Brown in third position, Jeff Tanner fourth. Over Shell Hill Bridge and along the fast stretch to Metropole Corner in Portrush goes McIntyre, widening the gap between the field, as they, in turn, take the tricky S of the bridge. Now down at Portrush, McIntyre is 6 seconds ahead of Brett and is beginning to move really fast. Here he is going through Craigtown and out onto the coast road, that part of the course which has been widened and straightened for this year's race. Henry's corner with its tricky exit and a lamppost in your way if you overdo it, McIntyre and Brett are quickly leaving the field far behind. Now McIntyre pushes his speed still higher and sets a new record for the lap at 102.04 miles an hour, 7 seconds faster than Brett's previous record. Number 52, Alistair King, is leading the 350 class, and incidentally is ahead of quite a number of 500s. And in the 250 class, the 3 NSUs of Robb, Hailwood and Miller are locked in battle. At Shell Bridge, Brooks, Daniels and Brown have their own struggle for 4th place in the large class. And now showers of rain come, and riders are never sure if the road around the next bend will be wet or dry. And at Henry's corner, it's definitely wet. But no damage is done, except perhaps to injured feelings, nor to McEvoy, who chooses Craigtown as his dismounting point. Here comes Ken Patrick, second man in the 350 class, for a quick fill-up, and soon they'll all begin their refueling stops. But no one is expecting the leaders to need fuel, and it's a surprise when after 8 laps, McIntyre comes in for a top-up. All eyes look for Brett. Will he get into the lead? Here he comes along the seafront. And he's past the pits and away with Bob still standing there. Away through Henry's corner goes Brett. And now McIntyre gets back into the race again. And what a race this will be if only Jack Brett doesn't stop for fuel. But at the pits, the signal board is out for him, and here comes Jack for a very rapid stop. But quick as it is, McIntyre's quicker, and he's passed and away in the lead again before Brett gets started. Once again, the order reverts to McIntyre first, Brett second, and lying now in 3rd place, Bob Brown on number 14. Comfortably ahead of Bruce Daniels, number 21. In the 350 class, number 52, Alistair King, has over a minute's lead from Patrick. And in the 250s, Mike Hailwood is just holding off Sammy Miller. Lap 15, 3 laps to go in the senior, and Bob McIntyre has a winning lead over Brett. Through Milburn and up the slope to Shell Bridge. Through the fast swerves and on to Metropole Corner. At the stands, they wait for him to arrive. But he's overdue, and it's Brett who comes through. And Jack pulls into his pit for a precautionary top-up. Back at Portrush is the answer. Bob's engine failed as he came down to Metropole Corner, and he's out of the race. And Jack Brett takes over the lead in a race in which he'd surely become resigned to second place, whilst Bob gets a lift back from a travelling marshal. But Bob still finds time to sign autographs, a difficult job to do at a moment filled with disappointment. And Brett goes through with only 2 laps between him and victory. Number 14, Bob Brown, gets a quick lift up into second position. And Bruce Daniels into third. Here goes Jack on his last tour. Back at the grandstands, they're ready and waiting for him. And there goes the winner to his pit as the rest of the field gets the checkered flag. And indeed, no one could be a more popular winner of this race than Jack Brett, who for the 2nd year in succession has carried off the main spoils. And this year, he gets not only the cup, but puts up a new record average speed of 98.40 miles an hour. Winner of the 350 class is Alistair King at 93.19 miles an hour. And Sammy Miller gets the 250cc verdict at 87.09 after a photo finish with Mike Hailwood. And so ends the 1958 Northwest 200, the 22nd meeting of a classic event in the motorcycling calendar, which all enthusiasts hope to see continue for many years to come. Motorcycle racing. This is the magnet which year after year draws countless thousands of spectators to circuits all over the world. And this is Solitude, scene of the German Grand Prix, one of the classic events counting towards the World Championships. Here you will find the big-time international riders. Men like Rhodesian Gary Hocking, MV Works team rider, after barely 2 seasons of European racing on private entries. New Zealander John Hempelman on an MZ 2-stroke. Japan's Kunimitsu Takahashi on one of the fabulous Honda 4s. And Jim Redman, also a Rhodesian and also on a Honda. In every crowd you will find thousands of youngsters who, perhaps like you, would like to become the Hockings of tomorrow. But apart from expensive machinery, what have riders like Hocking and Ubiali got that you haven't? Well, maybe nothing but experience. But it's experience that has been gained the hard way. For in motorcycle sport, there are no shortcuts to success. And experience comes only with practice, by riding in organized events as often as you can. Believe me, you can't learn to race on the public roads. What sort of events? Well, join a club and have a go at trials for a start. Here you have the supreme example, the Scottish 6 Days trial, organised by the Edinburgh and District Motor Club. Slow, yes, but common or mountain, mud and rocks can teach even would-be racers a thing or three about machine control, and you'll find great names like Jeff Duke, Sammy Miller and Ron Langston on many a shining national trials trophy. The bikes, pretty standard trials machinery, could be used for everyday transport at a pinch. But right now they're off for 6 days of mountaineering among the heather and the haggis, run by really experienced types like Jack Leslie, ex-road racer and trials rider. Trials are run in sections, and this one, Glen Ogle, is pretty easy, provided you've a vernier gauge throttle wrist and a well-balanced personality. Triumph teams to Artie Ratcliffe, a master of throttle control on the difficult section. And here's Artie's teammate, Roy Peplow, an ex-sign rider who won the Scottish in '59. How's that for bottom end talk? Ladies too, Jill Savage from Farnborough, Hampshire. Oh, hard luck, Jill. A few more rumba lessons needed there, I feel. It's not quite so simple as the worksmen make it look. But let's move on to something much more difficult now, at Grey Mare's Ridge. This'll sort some of them out. Throttle control, balance, path picking. You have to have mastered the lot to get up here without foot slogging. Ask Tommy McNabb. Grey Mare's Ridge can teach you plenty, including 57 ways of biting the dust. Peter Gurney, Peter Davey, Daniel Whidden, Harry Hawke, old Uncle Tom Cobley. But not all. When you can handle a machine like Market Garden or Gordon Blakeway, you're nesting in the top branches of the trials tree. For some, trials riding is it. And if you decide that this is your sport, there may be a works ride waiting for you. But if you're hankering after pure speed, your next step should be scrambling. It's the mixture as before, only much faster. So over to the British Motocross Grand Prix at Hawkston Park to see what the world's finest rough riders have to teach us. Sten Lundin and Lars Gustafsson of Sweden on Monarchs. Don Rickman and his Matisse, whose engine started life as a standard Triumph Tiger 100. And BSA pilot Remy Julien from France. 25 stars from 7 European countries, ready to do battle for World Championship points on a course parched for lack of rain and played out through overuse. Here they come to line up, engines running in front of the elastic starting tape. Lightning reflexes mean everything in clutch starts like this. They're off, streaking like jet-propelled sand into the neck of an hourglass. Too late to study form now, chaps. The leaders have already snatched a terrific advantage over the backmarkers. And championship runner-up Bill Nilsson of Sweden hurls his Husqvarna ahead of Derek Rickman's Matisse as they storm Hawkston's 1 in 3 hill, with Don Rickman hard after them, leaving the rest to find their way by faith, hope and astro-navigation. Luckily, conditions aren't usually so bad, even in championship events. But here's an unscheduled hazard for John Burton and Rolf Tiblin, St. John ambulance men, moving unlucky Derek Rickman, who's broken a leg. But even in races as rugged as this, accidents are rare. Compared with road racing, of course, speeds are relatively slow. It only feels like riding a pneumatic drill through the sound barrier. Much safer to master the gentle arts of infighting, cog swapping, fast cornering and braking on ball-bearing surfaces, where 999 times out of 1,000, the worst you'll suffer is a few bruises and a deflated ego. Even with a Matisse, many a road racer would have got off and walked round there. But Don Rickman's lying second, ahead of BSA's Arthur Lampkin and champion Sten Lundin. Sorry about my dusty, I can't stop now. And Gunnar Johansson of Sweden leads Belgians Roger van der Becken through the sandpits, fighting to catch Lundin. Now, battling Bill Nilsson has built up nearly a minute's lead, and that with what's basically an engine destined for a Swedish Army scrap heap. That's another advantage of scrambling. Relatively standard machinery can be tuned to concert pitch, if you've got the right brand of breath. And even new models are far cheaper than racers, besides being much less prone to develop expensive noises, provided you fit an efficient air filter, just as well in the circumstances. Whoops-a-daisy. But while our friend explores the undergrowth, let's watch Bill Nilsson's flawless technique as he finishes his winning ride. How's that for mastery of man over machine? Well, when you've learnt to control a motorcycle over this sort of ground and at this sort of speed, you'll be just about ready to try a drop of the hard stuff, real road circuit racing. Several circuit meetings are staged nowadays, especially for beginners. And if you've learnt all you can from trials and scrambles, or even if you haven't taken a blind bit of notice of the advice I've given you, in the spring, your fancy will probably turn to thoughts of racing at some place like Cadwell Park, where, although entries are usually oversubscribed, a few novices are invariably given rides. And there's often some ex-ace like Austin Monks around to help them. One thing you won't have learnt elsewhere is the run and bump start technique. Fuel on, select bottom gear, back against compression, wait for it, heave away, drop the clutch and you're off, sooner or later. Cadwell is an ideal course for learning the rudiments of real road racing, with its wide variety of hills and bends where expert use of brakes and gearbox can save seconds a lap, and with a longish straight where you can really get down to it. What's more, it's narrow enough and has sufficient solid scenery around it to demand a first-class passing technique, hairline navigation. Unlike some of the aerodrome circuits, where you can blithely point the front wheel in the general direction of next week, with plenty of hay to mow before you're brought up short if you run out of road. Cadwell packs all its charms into 1.3 miles, or sometimes a shade more. Right, now you've made your racing debut, and naturally you'd have won but for all those chaps under the counter-works machinery. So now let's see what else is needed to become a really top-notch privateer. And who better to show us than Bob McIntyre and his sponsor Joe Potts of Bells Hill, Glasgow. Joe's the backroom boy and business brain, but there's no daylight between Mac's ears either, particularly when it comes to tuning racing motorcycles. And his advice is preparation. One season's hardly over before Bob's preparing for the next, aided by ace mechanic Tim Fleming. That means hours of precise, patient, painstaking work, almost drudgery at times, but with racing engines, cleanliness is next to lustiness, and precision in preparation can mean the difference between success and failure. Few riders enjoy Bob's first-class facilities like that Heenan and Froud test brake, but fewer still could use them or have earned them as Mac has since his debut as a clubman in 1951. And he has all the inborn engineering ability so typical of the Scots. With the aid of the test brake, he reckons to be able to tune his AJS and Norton engines to suit any circuit you like to mention. All winter and much of the summer too, you'll find him hard at it, squeezing every ounce of latent power out of his singles, checking and rechecking their performance. that's only a start. Power increases in the engine may alter the handling on the track. So as soon as the model's nailed together, Bob's off to Oulton Park with Alistair King to teach it the way round, to check carburation, gear ratios, suspension, the lot. It needs all the qualities of a test pilot able to diagnose the slightest fault in mid-flight, but with no ejector seat if things go wrong. Fasten your safety belts and we'll follow him round the course. It's up into second for Old Hall Corner. Into third down the avenue. And back down to second for Cascades. It needs a special line in chins to withstand this sort of treatment. And what's more, there's never a square inch of McIntyre in the breeze a split second longer than need be. Into third, past the island. Then right down to first for that other petrol company's Benz. Up through the gears again until Mac's in top at the brow of the hill. Down to third for Knickerbrook. Then up to top again, before changing down to second for Druids. Up to third, just before the footbridge, and then it's time to start changing down to first for Lodge Corner. Bob's ending his first lap now, so how would you like to have a go yourself? Keep an eye on the rev counter. Don't go above 8,000 in any gear. And the best of British luck to you. Not at all bad for your first time round. With Bob, of course, this sort of thing's happening all the time. Checking his handiwork and testing new equipment. Always with a single aim in view, to win races. And above all, to win another tourist trophy. That one day may be your aim too. So let's go off to the Isle of Man. It's Wednesday, June 15, 1960. A new day and a new look for the Junior TT. 6 laps of the mountain course instead of 7. and riders away in graded pairs at 10-second intervals. But Bob and his AJS will start alone, for Gary Hocking has scratched. He's off, with nearly 2.5 hours of fierce concentration to go before the checkered flag. Favourite John Surtees on the MV4, and young Mike Hailwood with his AJS. Soon, they'll have left a narrow line of rubber all round the 37 3/4 miles course. The right line. Let's see them late. Bob McIntyre on Bray. Followed full chat by Surtees. On to Quarterbridge and Ballacrane. Get off line on one corner and you'll be off it for the next half dozen. But there's nothing wrong with Surtees' line at Ballacrane. Mac streaks down from Bagarrow. He's doing about 130 there. And here's John Hartle, already ahead of Derek Minter's Norton. At Ballaugh, Surtees is leading on the road. So Max AJ still can't hold that MV4. And behind them, Hartle leads Minter and Bob Brown. Once past Ramsey, you're marching up that great high hill, 1,400 feet in 5 miles. Then over the mountain and 8 miles further on, here's Surtees marching down again from Cates. Sweeping through Craignabar for the second time. Hello. Looks as though something may be wrong there. Maybe, for on the next lap, Hartle cuts the lead by nearly 20 seconds. But the champion's still going strong at Hilbury the next time round, and straight past the pits to start his 4th circuit. Yes, Surtees still leads, but he's slowing. Cadwell's star, George Catlin, comes in to refuel. And McIntyre also refuels, having decided against a non-stop run. Off he goes down Bray Hill and through Quarterbridge in pursuit of Hartle. And at Braddon, Hartle's already made up another second or so on Surtees. Now watch the lines through Ramsey. John Hartle and Bob McIntyre. Max past the waterworks. He's gaining on Surtees too. And round the gooseneck. Braking and gear changing perfectly coordinated. Not a split second wasted. That's the perfection of unending practice. And here's neat work by John Lewis and Eddie Crooks on Governor's awkward camber. Good for them. But not for John Surtees. That signal means gremlins in the gearbox, which are going to cost him the race. Last lap, and Hartle's now firmly in the lead. At Solby, Bob's overhauling the champ. Can he catch him? Surtees' MV's flagging now. But watch his impeccable style at the Ramsey hairpin. No, Mac can't do it. He's nearly 20 seconds behind Surtees as he lines up Hilbury for the last time. The checkered flag's ready. And ironically, Hartle scores his first Grand Prix win on the 4 within a few weeks of resigning from the MV team. So although all the midnight oil burnt in Bells Hill didn't bring Mac victory, to finish 3rd, the first all-British combination of man and machine, after 226 miles of the toughest testing yet devised, should be enough to satisfy most people. Except you, of course. Nothing will satisfy Sir but a works ride and a Continental Classic. Very well, back to where we came in. Germany, Solitude, the Grand Prix, Takahashi, Hocking, Hempelmann, all with works mounts which they'd never raced here before. Last-minute checks completed, the tension mounts. 30 seconds to go, team managers and mechanics leave the starting grid. The flag's up. Hocking streaks into the lead. I shouldn't wonder if he learnt that dodge from Surtees. He and little Carlo Ubiali are pulling well away, but the field's after them like a swarm of bees in June as they stream round Glemsec. Hello, something's happened. Yes, Carlo Ubiali's slid off on a damp patch where mud's been swept away. And here's the order at Steinbach, say. Hocking MV, Hempelmann MZ, Dickie Dale, MZ, and Taveri, MV. Hocking holds his lead at Byhingham. And at the back of the field, Plucky Ubial is in the hunt again. Windscreen hole, and his left megaphone wearing a distinctly injured expression. Here come the leaders through Sandberg. Order as before. And here's Carlo, third from last in 22nd spot. He's really got to get on with the knitting after that furler. Gary's still romping away like a bankrupt from the bailiffs. He's already built up a 150-yard lead over his pursuers. Three-quarters of the way through lap 2, it's still Hocking in the lead, followed by Hempelman, Taveri and Dale, having a terrific scrap for second place. And Ubial is already snatched back another 8 places to slip into 14th position. The race roars on. MV team manager Nello Pagani is keeping a watchful eye on things, and none better able to plot race strategy than this ex-Gutsi race. 18 seconds lead, that's clear enough. But Honda's Oriental hieroglyphics bespoke the opposition. 6 laps gone now. Hempelman, Taveri and Dale are almost riding one another's machines at Byhingham in the tear-up for second place. And now Ubiali's opened up all the stops in a determined effort to move up into 6th berth. Watch Tanaka and Takahashi glance anxiously over their shoulders as Carlo closes the gap. Discounting Hocking, at the start of lap 7, it's now Dale, Hempelman and Taveri in 2nd, 3rd and 4th places. And Ubial is now in 6th place. Hempelman, Taveri, Dale. And Ubial is closing in on them rapidly. Now Dale has taken over from Taveri and is chasing Hempelman. But never say die, Carlo has them in his sights at last. All 3 dicing furiously. But they're sitting ducks for the tiny streak of lightning from Bergamo. Just before Byhingham, during a meteoric 8th lap, Ubiali passes all 3 of them to move into 2nd place, taking Tanaka with him into 3rd position. Despite Ubiali's awe-inspiring ride, during which he gobbled up 21 places in only 57 miles, Hocking's lead was so great that with only 3 laps to go, Ubiali was unable to make any impression on the lad from Bulawayo, now within certain sight of victory. And so young Gary Hocking wins his 3rd Grand Prix in his first season as a works rider. Carlo Ubial is a splendid 2nd, and Tanaka 3rd. To Gary Hocking, the victor's laurels and a well-earned place in the Hall of Fame. To you, who dream of following in his wheel tracks, remember there are no shortcuts to success. Don't try to race before you can really ride. Try trials for a start. Then accelerate through scrambles to gain experience of wheel-to-wheel dicing, which will prove invaluable in road racing. And spend as much time on preparation as you do in the saddle. Then, even if you don't win a Grand Prix and never land a works contract, you'll at least have a lot of fun trying.